Let me make sure I don't have any like shit.
Bro, it's zoomed out enough that it's not bad. All right, y'all. We got Coach Ferbs from Instagram here, Jason Ferber.
From the planet Instagram.
Pleasure to have you. Had a little bit of a journey to get out here, but glad that he made it. He's in town for a few days, going around different guys, spring training. We're gonna just chop it up, go through some things. First and foremost, I don't even know this either, like how you got your start in like coaching, like social media, all of that. That's why I'm excited to like hear the backstory.
Yeah, so I mean, the page that people see now, it wasn't designed, like I didn't sit down and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna design this page for baseball players to come have fun and watch and get instruction. It was basically, it started because when I first got into coaching, I was doing it as a hobby. I wasn't doing it as work.
Yeah.
And so I was coaching like random kids volunteering in New York City.
Okay.
There would be like Dominican kids that came from there would be like kids that came from DR that didn't speak English, and they would be at the park down the block, and I would go down there and like hang out with them, hit a little bit, you know what I mean? Like young guys in the summertime or whatever.
And just film it kind of?
Yeah, but just as a hobby and almost just learning how to coach guys. And I think that one of the key things also is that I'm always going to be a coach first, and then the content I leak out on the side. Some people are content creators. I'm not a content creator. I'm not. I don't really know that much about editing stuff and making it, tricking algorithms. I don't know anything about that. Yeah. There's guys that are way better than that. So what I do is I've always put my first priority is developing players physically and also for life, obviously, and then streamlining the recruitment process. So getting them ready for college, matching them up with their academic profile, their physical skill set, and seeing where their personality would fit at what school, trying to get them a scholarship, then trying to get them on a draft board.
Yeah.
That's my first point. And then while I'm doing that, I just leak out some content on the side, say, hey, this is what I'm doing, maybe it'd be helpful for you. But the way that the Instagram page actually happened is because I started coaching a team of guys back maybe 12, 13 years ago, where travel ball was a lot different at that time. There was still like a feeling of community on your team. You're still like a team. Yeah. It wasn't so much just the mercenaries running everywhere, doing everything. It's every man for himself now. You know, everybody just chases bags around in college and switches from team to team to team. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just what it is.
So was that the U.S. Elite?
Elite, yeah.
That's what Mason and Luke.
Correct. Right? That's what Luke and Mason. Right. So those guys, when I first started with them, the teams, you could put together a nasty, nasty team, but they all come from a far region. Yeah. Right. So you can pick and choose. You can either pick from a local group of kids that your talent's only going to go so much because you're picking in a 5-mile radius in New York City where it's close enough where a kid can get off of school and get to practice and get home. I can't get a kid from Pennsylvania to drive to New York City 3 hours to practice for an hour and a half. It doesn't make sense. So you can get a lot of talent if you go bigger, right? Wider area, wider pool to pick from, but practice and getting to know each other and chemistry is tough.
Yeah.
So
how'd you bridge that gap then with that?
That's what happened was at first, because I'm older, I'm 47. So I wasn't really even into any social media kind of stuff at all. Yeah. I'm a little bit older of that generation. I saw like Facebook come out, but I wasn't really a big fan. And it was foreign to me to have a team. I never grew up like that. When I grew up, you just played with the team was in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's who you played with. You didn't have no choice. If you didn't like your high school, you didn't just go, hey man, I'm going over to this other, they got a better baseball coach, so I'm going over there. They got a better weight room. It was nothing even, it wasn't a thing. So I was trying to figure out, how am I supposed to get this team of 15 really good players that were like 14 years old to be able to gel and play well when we go on the field and not be, I don't want to be weird. That's a weird thing to me, to go play baseball with someone I don't even know your name, your strengths and weaknesses, what makes you tick, how your ball tails when you throw it, like nothing. You know what I mean? It's just a weird way to play. And so I started taking, I told all the guys on the team, I want you to take a video of yourself hitting, like the same videos you would see off a tee, front toss, overhand BP, like 3 or 4 swings. texted me, and I'm gonna put one a day on this group chat with everybody who was on the team.
Okay.
And I just told the team, I said, guys, I'm gonna put his name, where he's from, a couple of things about him. I want you to give him one thing you like about his swing and one suggestion.
Oh, okay.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So
this is before these guys knew each other, kind of?
correct. We just formed a team.
And they were gonna play in a tournament.
Correct.
Upcoming?
Yeah, and we hadn't really met. I just was like picking guys out and saying, you're on this team.
Yeah.
So
this is like, you don't even have the Instagram yet? Or it's like
no
super
Instagram.
Yeah, okay.
No Instagram at this point. This was just the guy.
When did the Instagram like start like taking off?
I'll tell you,
Okay.
because a couple of, like a week into doing the texting, the kids were like, yo, Ferb, we want to do this, but I'm getting 30 text messages every morning on this group text. This is not good.
Yeah.
And it was just blowing up. And I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. And then this kid, the shortstop, said, hey coach, I have an idea. Why don't you just make an Instagram page that's and then we can all go on there, just put us on the thing as the followers, and then we'll just comment what we like. It'll be the same thing. It's just a team. I go, nah, I don't want to do nothing like that. I hate Instagram. And so one day I was hitting with him, and he actually picked up my phone and was like, made the Instagram account while I was like throwing BP or something. It was like he was like doing it, and he goes, look, coach, I did it for you. I already made it. I was like, all right, what is it? And he says, look, you just go. And he wrote Coach Ferber the same way that it is now. That's a 14-year-old kid that
Stayed the same.
Stayed the same way the whole time since the beginning of it. Maybe it's probably 10 years now or something like that. Anyway, he says, you just go to your camera roll. You say you want this video of John Smith, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Go like this, click, post, and that's it. Just you can write his name here in the caption or whatever.
Were you like out on it at first? You're like, oh, whatever.
I mean, yeah, it was just like some extra stuff that I had to learn. That I was like,
Okay.
why do I need to do this? I'm a baseball coach.
We can just keep our text message there.
Yeah, exactly. And the kids were all like, please, that's so brutal. Like they don't want to be listening to 40 text messages on a group text. So anyway, I started doing it that way, and because I didn't understand that Instagram, that the whole world could see it. I wasn't using it that way. I thought it was just for our team.
Maybe that's what helped it grow.
Yes, because I wasn't trying to make it grow.
Yeah.
I was nicknaming guys. Like if a kid liked Chinese food, I would call him Anthony Egg Rolls. You know what I mean? Or whatever his name. I just nickname them. Just randomly mafia guys, killers.
Yeah. Is that like Stay Crispy? Like where did that? Like,
Stay Crispy was just something. Was like a phrase like that you would say today. It would be the equivalent of like, not valid. It's like when you come. It's like when you come out and you look good. Like you got crispy bone white, just some nice jeans on, gold chain.
It's like take that out,
little white
to the field.
Yeah, you take that to the field. It's like you look fresh, man. That's a crispy shirt, man. You looking good out here today, bro.
Yeah.
And then it's more of a lifestyle where it's like everything you do, care about, how you present yourself, what you're doing, like have purpose when you're walking, when you're doing things like that, when you take an IO, throw the ball around the diamond, just be crispy with it. You know what I mean? But anyway, the kids started seeing me nicknaming kids on there, and we were just having fun, and there was a bunch of laughing emojis because I would always say some crazy stuff that I probably would have got canceled for today. Maybe we'll have this.
Like everyone kind of wanted to see what their nickname was going to be.
Everybody wanted a nickname. Yeah. They all wanted one. And so I think other kids that were watching it were thinking like, why is this coach? He's just kind of like having fun with it.
Yeah. Versus like super hardo.
Super hardos or guys that they're about promoting their organization. It's not about promoting the player.
Guys,
this was something where I was highlighting the player, and it was such a simple concept of I'm not promoting a brand or an organization. This is who the player is. This is his nickname. This is his strengths and weaknesses, his hobbies, what he enjoys, and doing the whole profile, almost like a scouting report, but way more about the person. Yeah, way more about the person than about his physical.
And you still do that, right?
Always, to this day. A
lot
of my content is always player-centric, player-focused. It's always about why this particular person is having success on and off the field. I never do, like there are pages out there that will just go, if the guy's good, I'll post him. And it's just good. I don't do that because I like to be able to answer questions for people. So it's usually either guys that I train and hit with, I've coached on the field, or I have a relationship with them and I've trained with them at some point, or I know them and I can at least say when somebody says, why is he doing that drill in the video? I can at least say, well, we're working on, he had problems, like he couldn't get his barrel out or something, or he's running out of barrel, this is why we're doing this drill. So I want to be able to communicate in an educated way, not just post stuff for views.
Yeah, and that's where that nuance comes in, I guess, that you have of like, if you know the kid well enough, you've worked with them, you add those little like tidbits in that are funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that in the captions as well.
Yeah.
you start naming like his pitches and the nickname
Yeah.
that goes on with that. So I got one because I'm kind of new to content. I started posting a couple years ago. Like, what advice would you give players, coaches looking to grow on social media now that it's kind of, I mean, it seems like it's a thing a lot of people want to do now. And it sounds like you kind of did it on accident almost.
Yeah, it was on accident.
Yeah,
No,
what would your advice be if you have any?
You have to have a little bit of I don't care about likes and views.
Uh-huh.
There has to be some of that in you where I'm not posting. I fell into that trap, like I was telling you before. I did that same mistake where because I wasn't doing it for likes and views. Once they started getting more likes and views, because in the beginning when I was posting, you get one like from, or just the likes from the guys on the team.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, whatever. Once 1,000 people start, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, then Barstool like reposted something. I got like 10,000 people in one video. Back then, you would get followers really quickly because other massive places that would see something crazy, like there was a couple of videos where something would happen on a baseball game, like I remember a video that went crazy on mine that one of the kids I coached, was kid AJ Holcomb, was playing a high school game, and he was on third base. And there were, I think, 2 outs or one or 2 outs in a tie game towards the end of the game, and he stole home with 2 strikes and didn't tell the hitter that he was stealing.
Yeah.
The hitter was a lefty, and I mean you could see the guy running, but he still swung the bat, and he like slid head first, and the guy swung over like could have killed him. And he was safe, but he fouled it off. He fouled it off, and he was.
I'm gonna find that video and clip that in.
Yeah, I can show you. I'm pretty sure the kid was a lefty and he could see him coming. If he was a righty, I'm pretty sure in my mind he was a lefty swinging. He could see the runner, and then he clipped it. It was a foul ball, and AJ got it. He was like, "Dang!" And then everybody's like, "Yo, this guy, the hitter missed the sign." I was like, "No, the hitter didn't miss the sign. He just took off. It was his fault, right?"
Yeah.
But anyway, but Barstool or somebody at ESPN reposted it, was like, somebody missed a sign, and just totally.
Yeah, you still see that with those big accounts. They give credit in the caption, but it is kind of like they're kind of taking their content almost just to repurpose it on those bigger followings. Yeah, especially Barstool.
Yes.
Just take someone's viral video.
Just take it.
It's like, are the other people properly getting compensated for that? I mean,
no.
Who knows? But
back to the original point, like the consistency is important. It's key to have a cadence and say every day, because people, I feel like they get comfortable when, just like us, we like routines and habits. You like to go back to whatever platform you're on and see kind of a similar type of thing. If you like watching funny videos or fishing videos or whatever, you want to see some more every day. But what I noticed was when I started to get to like 50,000, 60,000, I was like, wait a second, this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
I started to second guess myself on certain situations, like on what I was posting.
Should I post this?
Yeah.
Because it's like big, it's like real now.
Yeah, now more eyes are on it, so you get all of a sudden, not self-conscious, but you get you start questioning, you're overthinking.
Yeah.
So I remember specifically one day, that same kid, Ben Greenspan, what up, shout out Ben, he went to William & Mary, he's a national ball player, he's from New York too. He started the whole account for me, and when I die, I'm gonna leave him the password so he can run it, he can keep running, because he's the guy that was inception. I love you, Ben. I would say, one day we were training in the park, I was hitting the phone goals, playing short.
Yeah.
And after practice, I was like, I had to post something. I said, hey, would you post, like, if you were, like, what do you think kids, I was like, what do you think guys would want to talk about, like, how to hit a breaking ball, how to sit on a breaking ball, or this other thing? And he looked at me crazy for a second and was like, he's like, Coach, why do you care? And I was like, man, why, what do you mean? He said, well, you always tell us to just be confident about who we are and stuff like that. Why don't you just post what you want to post? Why are you worried about who wants to see it and if they're gonna like it? I was like, damn, this kid just schooled me. He's like 14 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's true because it as long as it's in your heart and you feel it. Because there's honestly sometimes it's frustrating. I will spend 3 hours training somebody on a certain adjustment or something, doing some really detailed stuff. I'll spend an egregious amount of time.
Like with a drill you're talking about.
Yes, a drill or with a player and a concept that I think would be super helpful for the baseball community because let's just say it's a challenge that a wide, like you see a lot of hitters, like a wide variety have this one challenge on this one particular pitch or this one particular part of hitting. And I'll put out something that I'll take a lot of time editing and it'll go nowhere. couple hundred likes or something and just be like, yeah, and I'm like, dude, I just spent so much time. And then
Yeah.
I'll post a video of some stupid, like some kid doing something stupid, backflipping a backflip, 30 feet in the air, doing something moronic. And it's like, here's 2 million views. And it was like, it's frustrating, but you just gotta live with it.
The ones that, there's a saying where it's like the videos that you spend the most time on don't do well, and the ones that you spend the least time on are the ones that blow up. I've noticed that too sometimes on TikTok, which is where I started posting it originally.
Yeah.
And it's like, literally just a random thing when you pulled your phone out kind of blows up.
Yeah.
But life can be like that too, Like if you're pitching and you're trying to force it there, sometimes you throw less strikes than if you didn't care,
Yeah.
So it does kind of make sense.
Yeah, I think that's like, did you why do you think that is? Why do you think that it's the ones that you don't really? You think people can feel that? Like they can feel
you're trying too hard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, bro. I mean, it's kind of like a girl. Like you try you try to hold on too much. It's like, what's up with this guy?
It's not meant to be. It's almost like you. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had that issue too. I learned like early on, even trying to approach girls, when like you're young and you're trying to figure out how do I actually convince a girl to go on a date with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I made the mistake, I think a lot of guys do, of being too nice too soon or telling them that they're pretty too soon.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because
takes away the allure.
That and also you just put a girls generally, like my wife, not many women that I know want to be in like these high pressure situations.
Uh-huh.
And when you walk up to somebody randomly, you don't know them, and you say, wow, you're so gorgeous. Immediately, I mean, what can they say to that? They're like, well, thank you. But now they know you like them, and now it's like either I like you or it's awkward.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I want to do is tell somebody, even if I think she's gorgeous, the last thing I want to do is go out there and like blurt it out and say, like, oh my God. Right? I mean, just be cool. Talk about something else to talk to. Try to make a laugh, crack a joke, say something like outlandish, but don't do that.
I think it's a fine balance of like life does reward people that are kind of aloof sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like the balance of that, but not completely slacking. Obviously, like people on both sides of the spectrum, especially in baseball. People that don't work that hard, but they just got it.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
And that is frustrating. I feel like it's like that. Like people have like that in every field of life. There's people that just have that it factor, and they don't really care that much. So it is weird to the person that pitcher or hitter that's like wants to play D1 so bad that he's like white knuckling it, and then he doesn't get any offers, and the cycle repeats itself. So I mean, I think it's a fine balance of like putting in the work, not having it be your whole identity. I think that's a good way to put it.
Right.
And baseball can be your whole identity. It's like that's a slippery slope.
I was having a conversation with one of my friends about this. It's a big problem with like, I think young people right now is they feel like they want to be a part of, they need to be labeled as a group, like, and they need to identify who they are with another thing. It's not like I can't just be Chase, I can't just be Ferber, right? I have to be a baseball player, I have to be, or like people that identify themselves as, their whole identity is based on their political like opinions.
Yeah.
Like my whole life and my whole existence is based around who I vote for. That's weird. To me, it's extremely weird. I think that like if you feel comfortable with who you are and you have a nice balance of, I have other things. Like if baseball wasn't a thing at all, I don't feel like my life would be ruined.
Yeah.
I have other things. I get into something else that I enjoy. You know what I mean? I have other hobbies.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. I had a question that I thought you'd be able to give a good answer to. Given, you've been around like thousands of young ballers, baseball players, seen them succeed, seen them fail, like, especially in high school. What is there a pattern you're seeing of something that maybe people wouldn't be aware of that is like you look back when the dust settles and it's like when I saw that I knew that this guy was gonna like be a dude, and then vice versa, like I can tell like maybe this guy's a dude right now, but when I saw that happening, like I could see the writing on the wall of someone's career going downhill. Like is there patterns you start to recognize after working with so many young baseball players?
Yeah, I mean, generally what I've noticed is that age is definitely a huge factor. So in those years between 13, 14, 15, that like certain guys show more maturity levels obviously than other ones. Some kids are just super talented, and the amount of awareness they have of how talented they are and like how in touch with their body. Like I've met kids that you're like, this kid's gonna be a first rounder and he doesn't really know how good he is. And then I've met other kids that think they're a first rounder and like, bro, you walk around and you act as if, but you don't really carry yourself that way on the field or whatever. And I feel like a lot of the kids that get worshipped a lot and the people like they are more, the guys that haven't gotten kicked in the teeth that much through high school have a lot harder of a time in Pro Bowl, or the guys that I've seen definitely, like some guys that are, they raked their way through Little League, raked their way through high school, either drafted out of high school or went to college and like showed out, won some awards, and then they never experienced what it was like to get punched in the mouth, and then they get to Pro Bowl, maybe they even move up through the minor league system, you know what I mean, like pretty fast, and then at some point they just get like, they see it, you know what I mean, like they get smoked.
Yeah. And
sometimes those guys happen because they're like, this shouldn't happen to me. This shouldn't be happening to me.
They haven't built that callus to deal with it, kind of.
And then you see the dude that's like a 7th, 8th rounder, like always mad. They're like, I know I'm better than that dude. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how that guy got $1 million more than me. I'm better. You know what I mean?
So just that chip on the shoulder. Since high school.
Yeah. I didn't have the tool. I didn't have some tools out thing, but I'm a better baseball player. I didn't have maybe some electric arm speed or anything else like that. But I have seen that. I do think that the closest people they're listening to have a big deal.
It's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Like parents and then like private trainers outside and stuff like that. Yeah.
If they're taking suggestions from people that have their best interest in mind and also are reliable sources, they usually level up at way higher speeds and they have a much easier process than guys that think that they know better than guys that have been around and have seen it over and over and they want to do it their way.
Yeah.
Which is anything in life, right? I've done the same thing. We grew up with like, I don't want to listen to my father about all this stuff when I'm 15, 16, 17, and now, you're 40 years old, you come back, you're like, damn, he was right about all that stuff.
Yeah. All right, we'll segue a little. So Goated is a brand that you started primarily with sliding mitts. What inspired that? How did that come about?
So my partner, who actually, he lives in Chicago, he was a guy that, it was odd. I met him through Instagram.
Yeah.
The crazy part about it was that our only communication was through DMs. He had a young son that was a baseball, he kind of dug my page.
Okay.
So like a lot of dads that are on Instagram or things, they'll often reach out and they'll say, hey coach, I really like your content. I see you work with a lot of good players. Is there any way you could give me some tips? I get that so many, over and over. And there was a time when I would get a bunch of them in DMs and I would be like, you know what? I'm not getting paid to do this. It's a waste of time. But then I thought to myself, you're talking about a 7-year-old baseball player, 8-year-old baseball player that wants to practice and wants to get better. It's not like he's a 17, 18-year-old guy that, can find stuff on YouTube on his own. He's really searching for what drills and things, you know what I mean, that can help him based on what his videos, and his dad maybe wasn't a baseball player. So I tried when they're young kids, really young, I always try to answer them on DMs. If they're older guys, I don't have time to answer like every question from an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old guy. It's just, you're past the point where I can really do that much impact anyway.
And you can just do it on your own.
Yeah, you can just do it.
So his dad
reached out and said, like, can you give me some
tip
feedback?
First,
Something like that.
And then he's like, let's start a company?
Yeah, well, he called me up. He actually DM'd me. And he said, because I would always like this stuff. He did like crazy stuff. He would like he would like practice with foam balls inside his house. He would let his kid like tee off in his house with these foam balls and a wiffle ball bat.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like just a cool little
scene. So he posted content too?
He posted some content too, and I would like it. And then and his kid's really good actually. But he reached out one day and said, hey, I have an idea I was wondering if we could talk to you about. I think you'd be a perfect fit for it, and I'd be willing to talk about like ownership stuff and like that. I like the idea of not just being really transactional, and then I'm just here to move units. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be part of something long term, and so when I had the opportunity like that to have part ownership in it, I was like, this makes sense. And I kind of looked around to see who else was in the space, and I know Evo Shield was in the space, and you're not really going to compete with Evo Shield. Wilson bought them out. They're they're probably $100 million a year company or something like that. I don't know how much money they do, but they have a huge market share of that space. But they're very basic. So I looked at it.
They don't have the flair.
No, I looked at it there, and it's something for everybody, right? Like some people are going to shop for a Honda, and some people are going to shop for an Audi, and some people are going to shop for a Ferrari, and so it's fine. There's no right or wrong. It's just what your resources are, what makes you feel good. And so I saw that this other company named Aria, with LED.
So we were talking about on the phone, right?
Yeah, I saw that they were doing some stuff, and I thought that some of their designs were okay, but to me it looked very, how can I say, like more geared towards super young. That's what it looked. It looked like they had some big leaguers wearing it, but it looked like it was for really young kids to me. And
it was like the pizza one and the ice cream one.
Yeah. I was like, I think I could make some designs. I think we could make designs that really were attracted to the high level ball player. Almost like the guy that wants to go to get a Gucci suit, and we went to go for higher quality, better material, getting different artists around the world to actually create it from their mind. So it's a piece of art.
You want to bring something
out? If we can get a molded case where you can fit.
And that's the logo, right?
Yeah, that's the logo. You can put 2 sliding mitts in here with batting gloves, little wristbands, a thumb guard, right?
On the inside it says, "This isn't drip, we left the faucet running." Did you come up with that?
Yeah, of course, that was me too. It's not drip, we left the faucet running. So that's the Kobe mitt, right? The idea is we print 500 of these, right? You print 500 at a time.
And you do like drops basically, kind of?
Yeah, once they're done, that's the
Oh yeah, this one's, I bet this is big and like travel ball and stuff.
Well,
I feel like kids love these colors now.
they do, but it's getting big in professional baseball too now. We're at Big League Spring Training over here, and I was like, Marcus, we got the new Cal stuff. You went there. I said, would you want to wear a collection, even for like an all-star game or a playoff game or something?
Weekend or something?
Yeah, something different. And he's like, yeah, man, I really like that. So we got that one, and then did you see the headband on that?
I think it's at the bottom here.
Yeah. So that's the headband. Leg guard. Sick, dude.
It's sick. Yeah, it's a unique market too, because you can create such custom, personable designs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to have that when you're competing. It's like comforting almost, you know? Yeah. So I had another question about, like, you're big in the social media space and training space, and now like everyone's trying to do that, and there's so much info like online, like everyone has a new tip and a new trick. Like, how do you, as a coach who's learning as you go and coaching players, like filter out like what's nonsense and what actually like might be onto something, what could work for a kid, specifically online?
I think you need to have an assessment, a movement screening on everybody. If you don't start there, if what you're doing is you're trying to get somebody to move differently, if that's the goal, again, it depends on what your goal is. If you're talking about squaring up more baseballs more consistently, or throwing more strikes and throwing the ball harder, or putting more spin on it, whatever you're doing, you're asking somebody to move differently, right? Or move more efficiently.
Yeah.
If I don't have a background in movement, I don't have a kinesiology degree, I'm just I just used to play baseball.
Yeah.
Then you're not really, I would say you're missing huge pieces of it. So it would be like, a lot of guys I've seen that they were former pitchers and they started becoming pitching coaches, but they're doing weighted ball programs, right? Not a problem, right? You can do it, and there's definitely benefits to it, but tell me how I would know the difference between, if I was doing a weighted ball program, if I was doing a velo program with you, or an arm care program with you, and then 2 hours later I was doing an arm care program with a 14-year-old kid that was 5'7", 135. Okay, so I have you, super fast mover, elite mover, crazy body awareness, crazy proprioception, your joints are fused differently, every single thing about how you move, he's a righty, you're a left, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How would I know what the recovery time would be from, let's say, doing a high intensity day with you, as opposed to doing a high intensity day with him if I never went to school for that? How would I know how many days he should take off? And you can't do it by age. Because you've seen 13-year-olds that are more developed than 15-year-olds.
Yeah. So the point is that it's just so context dependent of the kid that you're trying to help. Basically.
So you have to have something where you get a movement profile, and that's one of the things that I struggled with early on. I used to be a guy that did all random drills, and I saw if I did one drill with one guy, I'd do the same drill with the next guy just to take up time and things like that, because I thought I was getting somewhere. And then to find out that everybody has different balance points, everything that makes people different coordinations.
So does that tie into, we were talking on the phone, it was Johnny Gomes?
Johnny Gomes.
Yeah, and that gym, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of...
Oh, in the gym?
Yeah. And you were talking about the tech that you were using to see what way you want to compensate as a mover, basically.
Yes.
So elaborate on that a little.
Well, so I've been studying this thing called motor preferences for the last 4 years, and it's basically how to get a human. It doesn't matter baseball, football, golf, walking down the street. How do I get you to max out your coordination and balance? How would I get you to do like that? How can I get you the most optimal setup to start from on the mound?
So this is interesting to me because everyone wants to pull the levers of like strength training, obviously, big lever to pull, and then just what's the one set of perfect mechanics. But this is kind of like how to leverage your individual anatomy to basically get the most out of your body.
Correct.
If I'm following?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could think of it as the same way of saying, what's a perfect squat? Like, what would you say is a perfect form of a squat? And if you ask 10 different trainers with degrees, they'll tell you 10 different things. Seriously, and they'll all be right, and maybe they'll all be wrong. Mm-hmm. I've tried it myself because I felt my whole entire life that I was squatting the wrong way. I used to look at people. When I squat, I generally go down, and then right before I push up, I go a little bit forward. The weight comes forward, and I get to my 4 feet, and I push up with my 4 feet. And then I look next to me, and there's another guy with his ass all the way to his heels, perfect, not his knees behind his leg, all the way down, all the way up. And I'm like, I'm not doing that much weight. I shouldn't have to do that. This is why when a trainer sees me go like this, you lost your form. You got to be on your heels. And I found out that I balance in my 4 feet. That's where my most coordinated point is.
So this ties into maybe as a pitcher, whatever data you get could lead you to experimenting coming set a different way, or lifting your leg a different way, or as a hitter having a toe tap versus a big leg lift. Basically, kind of it'll give you more data on what you're more suited to.
100%. I'll give you a quick example. Everybody's seen this one. You ever see a pitcher that let's just say they're in a windup.
Yeah, I think I saw your video.
We did that. Okay, so that's one. There's other ones that have that use. They're drop and drive guys.
Yeah.
Right? Did you see that one where there's some guys that go, a lot of the Japanese guys, they go flexion down and then they ride slow.
Yeah.
And then the Garrett Cole, other guys.
Taller.
Yeah, they're tall and then they fall down the mountain. So if you try to take a guy that likes to get to his 4 feet, and you try to get him to stay over the rubber and
It's not it. Yeah.
No, well, what'll happen is he'll try to do what you say, but then all he's gonna do is he's gonna come out of his heel and push off the rubber and be in a bad position because he's trying to get back to his most coordinated spot.
Yeah, it's so funny how it goes back and forth, at least with pitching.
Yeah.
I remember for a while everyone was you have to sit into your heel, all this stuff, jargon around that. And then when I trained with Bauer, who I trust his mechanical knowledge, he was big on the forefoot and letting your knees, I don't care if your knee goes over your toe, that's properly clearing your pelvis down versus someone who's trying to sit on their heel and then they never even get their pelvis open. So it is interesting. But what is the testing process like for that?
Testing process is a lot of different positions you're putting guys in to check their stability and their coordination with their spine. And there's 4 different balance points. You have your right forefoot, your right heel, your left forefoot, and your left heel. Those are your 4 balance points. And everybody has those balance points, but not every one of them. The number 1 would be your most coordinated. When you're on that balance point, you're the most stable.
Your biggest preference.
Correct, yeah. A preference can be anything. A preference can be how you go like this and just fold your arms.
Yeah.
So
if people want to check that out, is there an Instagram account for that?
Yeah, motor preference experts.
Motor
Motor
preference
preference. My friend Matt Swope, he's the head coach at the University of Maryland. Invested a lot of time and energy and resources into the research at a sports lab in France.
Okay.
And they are not baseball specific stuff, which is what I like. A lot of baseball specific companies try to narrate it to what they want to sell you.
They come with a bias already.
Yeah. And I also think that if there was one other thing I was going to tell you that I think you would find interesting, especially about pitchers, is that a lot of times you don't know what a pitcher, because we don't know what you're trying to do when you're on the mound. Like, I can watch you pitch, right? And I came to a minor league game last year. I think it was in Double A or something. I was watching you pitch. I can see everything you're doing, but I don't know how you're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know even what your intention is. So I don't know if I say, okay, he's gonna bounce a 2-strike, or he's gonna bounce a 2-strike changeup right here, and I don't know how you're from your brain is sending that message to what's going on, or what you're even, or if you're trying to work on producing a move to do that, or if you're just throwing it, or if somebody, or maybe you were getting coached a couple of days before on this certain pitch grip on the changeup, and you were like, all right, let me loosen my grip, and I'm gonna really pronate the shit out of this one. And I don't know what you're thinking. Nobody does.
Yeah.
You just see it. So oftentimes, when you see a guy that goes, you ever see a guy that goes, oh, he was like wild the first inning or two, and then he settles in, and they go, oh, he started throwing strikes,
all the time.
right? So what that is oftentimes is guys that are trying to produce a move that they've been working on in a practice setting in the game, and when you're trying to produce a move that's out of your movement profile, out of your preferences, your brain works harder, right? When your brain works harder, you expend more energy. So if by the second inning of you forcing this move and you're missing arm side up and you're all over the place, and you're like, fuck man, I gotta get this right, I gotta get my, all this other stuff, eventually your brain is just like, dude, I'm just tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw. And like, more often than not, when you lose energy, and when you're starting to lose energy, your brain naturally is like, all right, I have to stop overthinking all this other stuff, and that's when guys start throwing strikes.
It's kind of funny to how, like, when sometimes you have a little nagging injury and you're going into an outing, you don't have any anxiety almost, because you're thinking about that versus all the other stuff. But this one's kind of interesting segue. Like, how do you merge data, like, right, like we have TrackMan, we have HitTracks, we have all this tech, especially for younger players, and still competing. Like, I remember when I grew up, we didn't have any of the tech, and it was about playing games, basically, and winning. And, I'm thankful for that, but at the same time, the tech would have been nice. And now it's almost like, who cares about playing games and winning? Just use the tech and get your exit a little higher. So, like, how do you balance that as a young player?
Well, I think that, players are going to, a lot of this stuff, it depends on if you're trying to teach baseball or you're trying to just teach a guy how to throw hard. Well, again, all this stuff is, what is your intention here? What is the coach's intention? If I'm a coach and my intention is to just make money, then I could sit on a bucket and just flip balls and say, hey man, good, now I gotta stay in the middle of the field, a little early on that one, right? I could do that for an hour and make money. If I'm another different type of coach that I want to really see a kid retain some of the stuff I'm talking about practice and go execute in the game and feel like he's developing it and have some accountability over his own thing. I'm gonna ask him more questions and tell him more stuff. I'm gonna ask him what, tell me how many fastballs you took last game for a strike. And if he doesn't know, then I'm like, you're not doing your job. Like, why are you coming in here talking to me about your swing mechanics when you can't even tell me how many fastballs you took for a strike last game?
So it's like get the basics down first and then move into the tech?
That's what I would do. I would say, I don't even introduce tech other than video with some metrics. If I don't let my kids swing on a hit tracks, especially younger guys, and then turn around and look at the hit tracks, and then go back and hit, and go, oh, 1 more mile an hour velo, man, great. I think that's, I I just think it's not allowing a player. Now, every once in a while, when you have the hardest ball that you hit all around, and when you see that you were hitting all these other balls 81 and this one was 85, and you did exactly what you wanted to do with it, and then you come back and look at the video, and you go, look at how this video is different. What were we doing differently?
Yeah.
Because it produced this kind of force. These forces were produced on this particular swing, and then sometimes you'll see a kid go, well, I felt like my hands were way back here. But then you look at the video and you're like, bro, your hands are right here. They might have felt back there, but that's videos tech. I mean, anything, it depends on also how crazy you want to get. You know, like I'm using an iPhone, that's tech. It's not like the worst thing in the world and you can use it, but you can overdo anything. You can basically OD on whatever tool.
So what I'm seeing now is, and I've been through this, I trained at Driveline in 2019, but it's more prevalent now where you have like, I almost call them like facility, like athletes basically.
Yeah.
They love the facility.
Yeah.
Like they hate dirt and a mountain and an umpire.
Yeah.
And so like seeing like the facility athletes transition to the game setting is
brutal,
ugly, and it's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do these facilities do this much of a disservice to where like, this kid is this good somehow, but he's still terrible. Like, you know, like, and that's when like, if you can find a coach that can bridge the gap, or have two separate coaches, right, and use them for different things, like you're saying. I mean, throwing hard isn't necessarily learning how to play baseball.
No.
But it can help you play baseball a lot easier.
Correct.
If you have other stuff dialed. But that's what I'm noticing now.
Yeah, baseball is a skill. It's a very highly skilled sport where you don't. The best way to describe it is like pickleball or something, right? Or playing spike ball. You don't need, even if you don't, you might not have a ton of skill to do that, but we would still have fun playing that game.
Yeah.
Right? Ping pong, like we might not be super skilled, but we'll have fun. Baseball, if you're not skilled, you're not having any fun. You're not, because if you can't catch a routine fly ball and know where you're on job assignments and where you're supposed to be on cutoffs, you're not gonna have fun. Anyway, what I've noticed with kids also is that you don't need to. I always wonder why people are in a nuclear arms race with tech for kids that are young. I think a lot more of it is for the parents than the kids. Because data doesn't mean anything unless you know how to apply it. And I've seen some, like for instance, if I got 5 13-year-olds, right? Data is relative, is all relative to what you're trying to do. And individually, if I'm using it as a developmental tool and I'm just trying to show progress, people go, oh man, I got a TrackMan portable, 20 grand. Yeah. It'll show you down to 99.9999%. We extrapolate all this, we see the rotation, the seam shifted weights and orientation, right?
Yeah.
And you go, okay, cool, man. I got this pocket radar. And they're like, ha ha ha. You're like, your shit's not even accurate. And you're like, well, okay, but we're again.
It's attainable and it's feasible for most people too.
Yeah, but even so, if all I'm trying to do is show progress in a developmental, if I have you with 4 other guys and it's the same exact tool, even if it's a mile an hour off, if I can see you're throwing 82 miles an hour on this pocket radar and 3 months later you're throwing 85 miles an hour, it's the same thing. You're showing progress. Yeah. Now, once you start getting into drafts and things where you're getting paid and stuff.
Design,
now you're getting into like, I want my data to be the most accurate, but you don't need to have sometimes it makes kids think that they have to be training a drive line or something at 12 or 13, and I'm not.
That is crazy, yeah.
I mean, you don't need to, bro. You can go out there and get pretty good by just playing with older kids in your neighborhood.
And you think about like the DR and like how they grow up. And the people that come out of there, and I mean, I don't think they have tech really until they get signed by a team, right?
I don't even think Japan and Korea and Asia, Taiwan, all these places. I know some people that have relationships with people over there, and it's not like crazy teched out like it is over here.
Yeah, it is interesting. I thought this was a fun one. Like, is there you're in the Bay Area now? Is there a young player that you're working with that like people should be on the lookout for that is kind of like under the radar, like not super hyped up? I just think it'd be a good moment to maybe shout out a young crispy baller if you have one in mind. That isn't like someone that's like not getting a lot of cred, but like you're like, I think this guy's gonna be a dog.
There's a couple of them. I think, well, this kid that I met a couple of years ago, and he's been coming to some evolution events, and I've been able to coach him a few times. He's in Southern California. His name's Dylan Seward. I think he's going to be a first rounder at some point. It's like a switch hitting shortstop. He wasn't getting a ton of looks. He was in ninth grade last year. He was a little bit smaller frame, but he got pretty strong like, over the last year. So he's a kid that I would say definitely keep an eye out for a guy to be like if I had to pick somebody based on personality, work ethic, character traits, and all that skill set to be a professional, a big leaguer at some point, I would say I feel comfortable putting a large size bet on him.
That's cool. Yeah, I like those stories of like the people that aren't super hyped.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you're like, oh, I remember seeing him. Like, I'm not surprised.
Right.
You know? Yeah, like, and that sounds like what that would be with him.
It's crazy because at that age, man, it's really tough to identify. It's funny. That's the same reason why travel coaches, they don't really get mad when a kid that's 11 or 12, when he leaves a team and goes play for another one, or some other coach convinces him to go play at another squad.
Yeah.
When they're 11 or 12, nobody really cares. Because nobody really knows. He's still the same kid that's going to be a first rounder, but nobody really cares because they don't know how to trust their eyes.
Yeah.
Right? It's very hard to see what that is at that age. So it's like, he's just a kid playing baseball. As soon as he gets the notoriety and people hear about him,
It's like, yeah.
hey man, stay away from my guy. You know, it's like, dude, you could have been building this relationship with him since he's then. He wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway, but you didn't know what you were looking at.
Yeah. All right, we got last question here before we wrap up. I wish I could have known more about this going through this process, and it's basically like, how do young high school kids that are getting recruited find the correct fit, one, and like vet the coaches that are recruiting them and telling them X, Y, Z about the program and this and that? Like, what are tips for kids when they're on the phone with coaches to like figure out if it's bullshit or not, figure out if like this is actually a good fit for them, for kids that are gonna play college, not go to the draft specifically?
Well, first, I would say the number one rule is always keep in mind that if baseball didn't exist, would you still be happy there? Meaning, if I get injured, which happens, something happens, maybe even the school program during COVID, those programs, some of them just belly up. So no mistake, they're just gone.
Belly up.
Yeah, so what are you doing at that point? Now you're a regular citizen. What do they call those guys?
NARP.
NARP, yeah. You just went from a baseball player to a NARP overnight.
Regular citizen.
Yeah.
You didn't even get a chance to play.
Yeah, it's sinister work, bro.
So that's good. Number one.
Yeah. So then the second piece of it is, now the part about knowing that the coaches are the guys for you. That is definitely a person-to-person thing. I know kids that are extremely talented baseball players that wouldn't really fit well in my system on how I coach. I know guys, maybe he's a kid from the South that's used to a really militant structure and he really thrives in that environment and he wants some guys to really be riding him all the time about no Diddy, but like, that type of stuff. Knowing what makes you tick and what type of style of coach is, but again, you don't know if coaches are being super forthright with you. I've had a lot of kids that talk to coaches that they said, when we need you to come here, we need you to not go get drafted, or if you do get drafted, we need you to come here first and develop with us. We're gonna win a national championship. You could very well walk in here as our 3-hitter. And then they get to the school and they told 6 other hitters that the same thing about the
Everyone's there with their bat. I'm a 3-hitter.
Yeah, what happened? Oh no, why did I only get 3 at-bats all year? We'll go get 100 at-bats in the summer league over here. You're like, what? All right, man, thanks. Anyway, talking to former players. You need to dig deeper and you need to find people that went to that program, not just guys that were everyday starters, but guys that were off the bench, guys that maybe weren't, maybe guys that were bench players or whatever it was and weren't starters. Because, Dansby Swanson might tell you his experience at Vandy was life-changing and it's so electric and I wouldn't change it for the world, but the guy that was playing behind Dansby Swanson probably wouldn't have the same.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah, no, he might. have still enjoyed his time there. But you know how as a baseball player, we any player that I know that's a really competitive, any real baseball player, when you ask them why do you play, and a lot of them, obviously they say because it's competitive, it's fun, but a lot of them say I want a chance to play in the postseason. That's why I'm here, because I'm so competitive and I want to be in the spotlight. I want a chance to play in the postseason. So why would I go to a program that hasn't made a regional game in 10 years, but they have a cool little brand, when I can go to maybe a lower level and they've gone 13 for 13 postseason things, and I can make my way through college and go play in the postseason and go ball out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good point, yeah.
It is, and
having
so,
a chance to go to Omaha.
yeah, dude, that's important for somebody that's a really competitive player. So I think those two things, obviously the major, make sure, I've had some kids that say like, hey, I want to go to the school, and you go, well, what's the major? I want to major in sports medicine. Okay, cool. Do they have it? Well, they don't have it. It's like, so I think doing more research, it's funny, parents will do endless amounts of research. What's the school student body population? What's a degree worth in the first 5 years? What's the average salary from this school as opposed to this one? All these different things that they'll research, and then when it comes to like trusting a kid to go play with a travel team, they'll just go, here you go.
That is funny. Yeah.
It's like, it's the same thing. You're going to play baseball. Why is this one? The guy could be a murderer. He just got out of San Quentin. He just got out of jail for doing 30 years for murder. And you're like, yeah, go ahead, go have fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been solid, Ferber. Appreciate you.
Hey, man. Appreciate you, Chase.
I hope the viewers can get some good information. Most of them are going to be young baseball players, I'd assume. But thanks for watching, y'all. I'll have links for Ferb's socials. Stay crispy.
Stay crispy out here. My guys.